Everybody, hope you're doing well. Um, Memorial weekend still on a Sunday, relaxing, very nice. I wanted to update on something I think that's important. The whole G7 meeting. Um, and I didn't really talk about it in my last video because more and more stories are coming out. But Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel, or Germany's president, however you want to look at it, um, is publicly coming out and saying that basically that their country is going to have to go it alone in terms of like climate change and other economic deals and stuff like that because the United States is proving to be problematic. And she's like vocally saying this in front of people, so it's kind of a big deal. But the whole G7 and what that is, basically, of course, group of seven. Um, but the G7, just so you all know, consists of Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, France's President Emmanuel Macron, Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel, Italy's Prime Minister Paolo Gentiloni. Probably said that wrong. I apologize. Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, United Kingdom's Prime Minister Theresa May, United States President Donald Trump, and the European Union representatives, Council President Donald Tusk and Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker. Juncker, I think I said that right. um, but that's who consists of the G7. Now, what the G7 does, and this is all like wiki info. But the organization was founded to facilitate shared macroeconomic initiatives by its members in response to the collapse of the exchange rate 1971 during the time of the Nixon shock, the 1970s energy crisis, and the ensuing recession. Its goal was fine tuning of short term economic policies among participant countries to monitor developments in the world economy and address economic policies. So kind of a big deal. But what's concerning about that? Excuse me while I take a drink. I went on a long like 12-mile walk, so I get an adult beverage as an award. But anyway, um, what concerns me about this is the United States is like one of the largest economies in the world, but we have a uh, partnership with these other countries that are also large economies, so we're an even bigger economy in that sense because we're connected. Now, just to put that in perspective, um, of those groups I mentioned, the G7 represents more than 64% of the net global wealth, which is $263 trillion. Trillion, remember that word? A very high net national wealth, obviously, um, and a very high human development index. So a lot of people in the workforce are the main requirements to be a member of the group. So keeping that in mind. They also represent 46% of the global GDP. So basically, half of the GDP of the planet is represented by seven countries. Keep that in mind. And the global, here we go, evaluate, oh yeah, and the market exchange rates, and then 32% of global purchasing power. So, pretty big deal, right? G7 is no joke. Now, I'm not gonna go into like my other video where I was talking about like little goofy things Trump was doing, like haha, whatever. I'm more focused on the money because this concerns me. When a world leader, that's how Germany's looked at right now. It used to be, Obama with the United States was like kind of seen as like the like leading the world and like innovation stuff like that. United States now countries are looking to Germany like this ain't a joke, like this is real. And then now she went ahead and said what she said in front of everybody, like, and it's starting to like come out in news more and more. That's not looking good. Now, some American news outlets unfortunately won't show this, which is kind of sad. Which is the whole reason why I watch like global news. I watch as many countries' news channels as I can because if I want um, like a more constructive opinion of a certain country or what they do, if I watch that country's news, there's always going to be bias towards that country. Like I just watched a news story about Canada where some little girl won a contest and she got to go meet Justin Trudeau, and they made like a little fort and it was adorable and all that stuff. So obviously, like, and it was a Canadian news outlet, so obviously they're biased towards Canada, making it look good, all that. But if I want a more constructive criticism of Canada, I'm gonna watch Canada's news as well as other countries' news that are involved in Canadian like politics and economics and stuff like that. I want the whole picture. I want it from both sides. I want to see everything. I don't want to just blind myself to just that one country and what they're doing. I don't want to just watch Fox News or CNN or MSNBC. I want to watch global news. But when I see and it's being more reported on other countries' news, like Russian news, Canada's news, Germany's news. They're talking about what she's saying, but I have yet to hear it on American news, which either it'll come late or it won't come at all. But it's concerning when 7 countries that command half of the world's GDP, over $200 trillion, now might be at stake of not sticking together because of the United States, my country. Um, Now, if it's going to go that route, I don't know. It's obviously a big deal. You can't just like, at least I don't think you could just like kick a country out and be like, all right, it's the G6 now, bye. Like I'm sure there's going to be things going on with that, but it's concerning, because that's a lot of money. That's a lot of trade deals. That's a lot of wealth. That's a lot of companies involved in the stock market that we all as speculators can trade. And seeing that is concerning to me. So, and if it's concerning to you, like let me know. Like leave a comment. We could talk about it. But like when I look at that, that's not good. That's our trade partners, and you could argue that Trump might be, depending on politics, Trump might be trying to make a more trade deals with like Saudi Arabia. Like obviously they just did a $300 billion deal, which even then, like that's chump change if you consider the 200 trillion I just mentioned not that long ago. But we want to be I want to be involved with countries that are more progressive, not just with their social structure but also their economic policies as well and how they do business. I want to do countries that do global trade, and like I can actually like visit that country if I wanted to. Like we do a deal with Germany, I could go see Germany, like and everything they do. I can't go to Saudi Arabia. I can't go to like North Korea. Like you're not allowed into those countries. You have to have like special privilege or a reason to be there or something. So I don't really want to do trade deals with a country that I can't physically see what they're watching, or I can't watch their news because they don't broadcast it, or they don't allow like Americans in, or maybe some other countries in. So I don't trust those deals. I don't want to do deals with countries like that. But to be or to lose out on this G7 partnership we have could be devastating to our economy. Now, like I said, I don't foresee that happening. At least not easily. Like it could be down the road. Like after all, like at best, Donald Trump can only be president for 2 terms. Beyond that, there's nothing he could do to be president anymore. So the G7 could just kind of wait and just like keep progressing with what they're doing and just basically wait for the next president to come along. Arguably, Angela Merkel and some of the other G7 countries were more friendly with Obama. And again, whatever your political policies, doesn't matter. It's just that the deals that they were doing with other countries was just more like going through the motions. Like it was just one thing after the other. Like there was no strife, there was no controversy, there was no problems with that. Now it's seeming like there's potentially a problem with us doing deals with these countries. So that's kind of where my concern is at. There we go. But like, what do you all think? Because I'm concerned. Like I don't I like to consider myself a macroeconomist, but I'm not obviously a macroeconomist. I don't get paid to be a macroeconomist. But these are things I look at. And when I look at trade deals and I look at the potential for growth in our economy as well as other economies that we do business with, it's concerning to see or to hear a leader of a country say that. And the other countries like France and Italy and all that are going to follow suit. Canada, we already have bad beef with Canada right now. We already have bad beef with some of these countries. And it's not this like authoritarianism type attitude is not going to fix that. It's only going to make it worse. We need to work with these countries, not command these countries. They are their own entity. They have their own leader. They have their own elections. They have their own trade deals. They have their own companies. They have their own way of life. We have to accept the ones we do business with. Now, obviously, we do deals with some countries that I don't prefer to do, which I mentioned earlier, but that's the way it is. We have to accept their country for how it is. We shouldn't be in there invading them and bombing them and shit like that. But going forward, like, I'm concerned for the stock market because if a trade deal falls apart with the six other largest and most affluent countries in this trade deal or this deal we got going on, that could be devastating to the market. Like people still talk about Brexit and are concerned about it, and that's totally understandable. You're taking a major country out of this trade deal, and it could hurt. It could collapse the economy, and it could collapse Britain's economy. But that takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. There's a lot of trade deals and stuff like that needs to get worked out. But if you're on the fence of a long term investment, you're thinking which way can it go in terms of our trade. You might be concerned when you see this. I'm concerned watching it, but I don't see this happening today, tomorrow, next year. It's just to save face with other countries and world leaders. They're gonna want to work together and make everything look good. They want to work all this stuff out like behind the scenes. They don't want to blow this out in front of everybody. There are media outlets that thankfully try to figure out this information and report on it so we can know it. But like the major media outlets, like that kind of want to hide it, that are more biased towards their governments, they don't want to talk about it. But I want to talk about it, clearly. But I think going forward, watching this is going to be important. I don't think this is going to lead to a devastating crash in the near future. But long term, if rhetoric like this continues, and if we go back on all the trade deals we've been working on up to this point, and we just tear apart, like the climate change agreement and other agreements, stuff like that, we undo all the progress we made so far. That's going to be devastating to us. And again, it's not your politics that matter in this, because the market is mostly funded by sentiment. Like it's what people think, it's what they feel. People aren't mathematicians by nature. They're not calculators by nature. They don't look at the ones and zeros as they should. They should be more calculable like that. But you have to recognize that when people are afraid, they pull their money out or they buy into something, rapidly, just like the James Comey thing. When there was the fear of him, I don't want to say bringing impeachment on Trump, but basically saying he has all these tapes and all these notes about Trump and all the things he said, people freaked out, and then the market sold off. It was a fear. It was fear. It's sentiment. It's nothing to do with the economy and how it's going. It was fear. And if the G7 is going to be torn apart in the future by something that's going on in the U.S. with the current president and everything, that could be bad. That could be a fear. That could be a crash. That, or a massive correction or something like that. So I don't want that to happen, and I'm trying to inform people about that. Like, again, you could have a completely different opinion than what I have. You could not care at all. You say fuck this, whatever. I totally understand. I'm expressing what I feel and what I look at, because I look at global trade deals, because that's what keeps the economy going. That's what keeps us growing. We can't be a country that goes it alone. We have to accept that we need help from other countries. That's why there's the G7 and other trade deals and stuff like that. And not all the deals are perfect. Not all of them are fair towards each country, but we have to do our best to keep improving them and not fighting them and causing problems with other countries. But anyway, I just wanted to make that video. Like I said, I don't think, at least as an American, there's going to be a lot of American coverage on this. They may or may not cover it, but it's not going to be fast enough, because I already see other countries and how they're covering it, and the United States, because they're more critical of the United States. So I watch them because they'll usually give the stuff that I won't see in the mainstream news, and then I'll watch mainstream news to see what they say about it. I always want to compare and contrast both. I want to get as much information as possible before I make these decisions. That's my money. That's the stock market. That's our economy as speculators and investors and traders. So I think for right now, losing my voice, I'm gonna cut this thing off. But as always, if you have any questions, let me know. Leave me a comment. Like I said, if your opinion varies, feel free to express it. I have no problem in making this like an open forum discussion with people. A lot of times when people leave me comments, I don't really just always comment with like one or two words. Like I'll write a paragraph. Like I'll do my best to inform. Well, I shouldn't say inform, but to kind of state how I feel, like my opinion, what I'm thinking about it, just so you all understand a little better, and then you in turn can make a more well informed decision. Because it's always your money, it's always your choice. You are in control of everything. I'm just trying to give out what little information I know to better help you. That's the whole point of this. So just to keep it real like that. But like I said, any comments, questions, go ahead, let me know. As always, if you guys like my channel, help me out. Click like, subscribe, share it to your friends, your family, whatever. If you want to get them interested in economics and finance and you know cryptocurrencies and stuff like that, if they feel like, or if you feel like you need more information, feel like they might need more information. Um, and as always, I leave my donation wallets. If you want to donate to the account, help me out. And with that, I hope you all are enjoying your Memorial Weekend. I hope you get Monday off. That 3 day weekend. You deserve it. We all deserve it. Um, and then I just hope you all. I wish the best. Don't don't let sentiment drive all of your decisions, but understand sentiment in the market drives a lot of decisions. And when people see major economic news like this, the big money will show you what the market's going to do. It's not the small investors like you and me, it's the big banks. And if they have concerns with our trade deals with other countries, it could be a problem. So that's all I'm trying to say. So with that, have a good weekend, everybody.